Boy is standing in his Fort Worth neighborhood looking on as firefighters hustle around battling a blaze. He's armed with a little box camera that his older sister had given him and a reel-to-reel. Some of you in the audience will have to have that explained to you. A reel-to-reel tape recorder that he got from his mother. This nosy kid's wondering just what in the world is going on. If a fire truck came into the neighborhood, Bob Ray said, I interviewed the firemen, and they accommodated me usually, but they were probably wondering, who is this little kid in our face? Thus began Bob Ray's award-winning career. Over 45 years, Bob Ray, during 2 stints at the Star-Telegram and also during his work at KERA TV and radio, would become, as Chris Boyd recently described him, a beacon of hope to those eager to build a more just, tolerant, and economically stable communities, and sometimes also a thorn in the side of those who had benefited from the status quo. That's pretty high praise for a guy who applied for his first job as a newspaper reporter on a whim. In 1969, Bob Ray had gone downtown to downtown Fort Worth to buy a pair of cufflinks to wear to his college graduation. While he was there, he decided to walk in the Star-Telegram and apply for a job. And one editor gave him a story to rewrite as a test. Another one checked on his references. By the time he got home, he had a job offer. They were offering him a job as a journal assignments reporter. By the end of the summer, he was assigned to federal courts. Bob Ray had a career-long passion for digging through court documents. He did such a good job that the Star-Telegram editors decided to move him over to the county courthouse and county politics. And Bob Ray told us that they said they're getting ready to send me to the courthouse, and you should know it's the most racist beat at the paper. But we want you to know that any place you're not wanted, the Star-Telegram is not wanted. So again, Bob Ray dug into the files, submitted record requests, worked his sources, and broke front page stories. He became more familiar, he said, with the district clerk's office than the district clerk was, because he had to research all those records. I was always asking for things the police didn't want me to give, he said. This is, students, the path you should follow, just saying. His work caught the eye of KERA, which did a story about his courthouse coverage, and it ended up being, the story ended up being a screen test. And in '72, he was offered a job on the groundbreaking newsroom show hosted by Jim Lehrer, a former managing editor at the Dallas Times-Herald. Bob Ray quickly learned to be a broadcast journalist, eventually helping to launch the public radio station and taking over as KERA station manager in 1976. He covered the news for KERA like he had at the paper, becoming what D Magazine described as one of the stormiest personalities in the Dallas news community. Someone who negotiates the precarious tightrope that stretches between print and broadcast news. Bob Ray worked at KERA until 1990, and then he had a brief stint at KLIF, Cliff Radio, and in 1994 was persuaded to return to the Star-Telegram as a columnist. Publisher Rich Connor had heard Bob Ray describe himself as a print journalist at heart, so he figured that he needed to make a way for Bob Ray to get back into print. He eventually was named an associate editor and vice president at the Star team. His columns comforted the afflicted and afflicted the comfortable. He raised funds to buy thousands of fans for inmates suffering from the Texas heat in Texas prisons. He wrote passionately about a wheelchair-bound panhandler and became involved in the life of a young boy who found his mother murdered in her bed. And then he went on to watch that boy grow into manhood. In 2007, Bob Ray wrote about Kenneth Foster Jr., who was on death row for being an unwitting accomplice to a murder committed during a robbery, spotlighting the unjust sentence that he received. Governor Rick Perry eventually commuted Foster's sentence on the day he was slated to be executed. Bob Ray's columns are nominated for the Pulitzer Prize. When I was writing those stories, Bob Ray told us, I had a lot of people supporting me, but I also had a lot of people against me. Not surprised. After Bob Ray retired from the Star-Telegram, Chris Boyd said his dogged and insightful reporting have not always pleased those who disagreed with him. But many of those same people who disagreed with him still tipped their hats to his fairness, his professionalism, and his stellar writing. Bob Ray has won 5 Dallas Press Club Katies, a regional Emmy Award, and a National Headliner Award for outstanding investigative reporting. His other honors included the Ethics Award from the Sheeper School of Journalism and induction into the Texas Literary Hall of Fame. It's for these reasons that we give Bob Ray the 2017 Open Doors Award from the 4th chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists. And right after we give a little video, then Bob Ray gets to come up and talk to us. We're pleased to give you the Open Doors Award tonight, not only for opening doors, but for opening our hearts and our minds. Congratulations. All right.
I'll be very brief because I didn't want to do this anyway. And I just saw Sylvia over there. Sylvia, my colleague from Channel 13, which I know had something to do with that video, or they would have had it showing my afro. I do appreciate it. I don't like awards, but I figured that John and you, Janet, did this to get back at me because I stopped doing the Christmas party. But more important than that, and I'm going to say this, and I really want to say just something briefly to the young people, but I can't do that without saying something to the old people. Mike Conker, who was the AP reporter whose office was in the Star-Telegram when I started, who has been my benefactor all these years. I mean, Mike, you know I appreciate you very much.
I appreciate you.
Dorothy Esther has been my inspiration, and the inspiration for thousands who came through UTA, but anybody who was in journalism in North Texas. Dorothy, you know I appreciate you. Paul and Paul a lot the same thing. John was my colleague for years. At Channel 13, we were able to do things that we couldn't have dreamed of. Weren't supposed to dream about. But if you dreamed it, you could do it. And what I want to say to these young people, and congratulations, young people who won the awards tonight. I came into the business when nobody like me was supposed to be in the business. They told me I couldn't be in it. My father said, "You're crazy going into journalism when nobody will hire you." Because in those days, even at the Star-Telegram, they only printed a picture of a black man if he had killed a white man or raped a white woman. So that first week when I was at the Star-Telegram and my picture appeared on the front page of the paper, my father had to spend the whole week saying, "Yeah, that's him, but he didn't rape nobody." So young people, please study hard, learn from these people who are here. I appreciate it. I don't like it to this day. I still don't like it, but I do appreciate it. I got to tell you, and the person who's dealt with me all those years, my wife, Peaches, who put up with it all those years, even with the threatening phone calls and all those things. And I'm going to say one thing. I promised I wasn't going to be political, but after that presentation, I just got to say, and I'm going to say this, and it's not political, but it is. I cannot stand our Attorney General, okay? I'm very disappointed in our government. I'm very disappointed in our government. Don't mean to, upset anybody, but I am, because they're both better than that. And we as a state are better than that. And I won't even get into presidency. Just say, Lord have mercy. Thank you.